What's up, guys? We are live once again. Movers and Shakers Unlimited. I'm happy to have special guest Bill Oberst Jr. with me. How you doing, Bill?
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. I like your show. I like the name. I
Absolutely,
like the
absolutely.
name too. Movers and Shakers. That's good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's funny too because believe it or not, and you probably I don't know if you're aware of this. We've been connected for a while. It's just that this is probably the first time that we've actually met face to face. Like I know, like on social media, I've been following a lot of your work and checking out a lot of stuff that you've done. So again, thank you for coming on.
Hey,
So the
I want to tell you too that I checked out some of your work too, and was impressed.
Awesome, man. The topic of today's conversation is talking about this project that has got a lot of people talking, and it's GREATLAND. So, can you talk a bit about getting involved with this wild project?
So before I even talk about it, I wish people would like just go and watch the trailer and check out his comments later because like it's mad, it's bonkers, and so we shot this in 18. And it's about a future world where people are just obsessed with being distracted and having fun, and it's ruled over by this elite group of very decrepit pedophile type people. And then there's a pandemic, and there's this crazy election coming up right in the middle of the pandemic, and so that's what the whole thing is set around. And we shot it at 18, and then all of a sudden, whoa, here it is.
Yeah, like I said, it's crazy to have have a film like this with how loaded it can be based on the circumstances that obviously you guys couldn't have in doing the project couldn't have foreseen. So I'm just curious in doing researching and knowing characters that you're interested in playing, characters that uh, are, for all intents and purposes on the outside, on the exterior, are monstrous. But, I know you've been quoted as saying is that you enjoy finding, something within, these, perceived monsters. So,
Right.
can you talk to that and comment on that?
Yeah, the guy that I play in this is called the philanthropist, and he's pretty rotten. He's a pedophile. He's one of the elite rulers, and he sits in a bathtub of blood. And in the bath, I spend my whole time in the bathtub in this movie. And in the bathtub of blood, he has lotus flowers, and his pet cockroaches float around on the lotus flowers. So like he's talking, he's quoting Nietzsche and Shakespeare and all kinds of nursery rhymes and stuff to his little cockroaches there. Uh, so yeah, he's pretty rotten to the core, but nobody thinks they're rotten, right? Like even the
Right.
people that you'd say, oh, they're really evil, they don't think they're evil. Like I think that's the real hard thing to understand is that you look at somebody and you're like, how the hell can you be such a bastard? And they're like, I'm not a bastard, and they really don't believe they are. It's just it's all
Right.
how we perceive each other.
Absolutely. And to talk to that further, considering everything that's going on, it had there been talks of like keeping on the path that you guys are on in terms of having it have its release, or are you guys have there been discussions of perhaps pushing it back or changing things just based on everything,
I
or
haven't
have you perhaps it's still too early to tell?
I haven't seen the final version of this, but Dana, the director, could tell you more on that. But I'm assuming that since they put the trailer out and since it's so relevant, that they're probably going to try to get this out. I would think this year.
Okay.
I would expect it to be coming out in the fall. It certainly seems like that would be the right time for me. It's very like if you look at the trailer, the colors are all it's almost like an assault on the senses, the trailer, because it's like really loud and very fast, and it's these bright, crazy colors, and there's this absurd election, and people are worshiping this sort of universal mother who rules over a great land, and the whole thing, to me, is right for the times because when you look at the news and everything that's going on in the world today, I don't mean just the pandemic, I mean everything, the way that we have
Everything.
become,
Yeah.
it's like an assault. It's almost like a rape. So, I don't want to use that too strong a word loosely, but to look at the news and understand what's happening to humanity now, it feels like a violation of the spirit. So, and that's what this trailer feels like too. So, I hope that they go ahead and get it out, and I hope the final film is in the spirit of the trailer, like that, like fast and assaultive. And I'm not a fan of movies that try to soothe you and tell you everything's going to be okay. I guess because I do, a lot of horror and darkness,
Sure.
but I want a movie that says this this is what is in the soul of humanity, and this is what's happening right now, and you need to look at it. You need to see this, and you need to sit with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, in speaking to that, as I said, or I should say, you've commented about it thus far. Is you've had a chance to do a lot of dark characters, and I'm just curious outside of what you commented on what you were saying with that monstrous element and a lot of these characters not really what makes it interesting for you is that these characters don't feel that they are the way that they are. um, has there ever been a time in all the the various things that you've done with your characters where it might have just been even in the spirit of being objective and open and receptive to doing those characters where it was still like too much in some cases?
Yeah, two that I turned down and three that I did were like that. Three that I did, Greatland's one of them because my guy had all of this kind of cool weirdness. He's very intellectual and playing with the cockroaches, and I dig all of that and the lotus flowers and everything. But then Dana, the director, tells me he's a pedophile and he's a big pedophile, and that's hard to wrap your head around. Why,
Sure.
it's hard to even understand how such a thing could exist. Um, and then you got to do this kind of light dialogue, talking to the cockroaches and try to give him some humanity too. That was tough. Then I did a movie called Circus of the Dead, where I played a guy he's a serial killer, a rapist, and a necrophiliac. And his day job is he's a circus clown, and he doesn't believe in anything. He's a nihilist, so like nothing has any meaning at all. That was really tough for me. And then I did a movie called Children of Sorrow. I played a cult leader who preyed on young people who were looking for meaning in their life. And he just made up this religion, just made it up with stuff that he thought they would like and ended up killing them all. And so all three of those really hit me kind of hard because, I mean, from being an actor that there's a little scar tissue, right? When you play a character, it doesn't just go away when the movie's done because you've let that spirit into your spirit and you got a little layer of scar tissue there and it stays with you. I don't know if it's that way for you, but it is for me.
Sure. I mean, I know based on the processes that as actors have, sometimes you go very method, sometimes you don't. But no, I mean, I can see, I can see where what you're talking about, and folks that I know that are very method in terms of what they do. But I was just curious because like I said, you've done so many different roles, and from the outside looking in, and it seems like you're very objective and very open in terms of uh, what you're willing to do, as an actor, which is, to a degree, what you need in order to, be able to do what you do. But at the same time, I'm always, curious to know one way or another.
And
Um,
the one I turned down, um, that I can mention, was a historical character who was a minister who professed to really know God and did very horrible things to people. And even though this is actually happened and it was based on real events, I couldn't get into that energy. I couldn't do it because there's too much of that in the world. There's too much, and I guess I guess I let the craft in me down by saying I can't do this, but I, I just couldn't. I can play any kind of human darkness that you throw at me. I'll do it. But if it's a person who says I'm in touch with God and I've really been in touch with the divine, and here's what he says, and then that person takes advantage of you and hurts you. Yeah, that's hard for me.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now I've been chatting with all the guests that I've recently spoke with everything that's been going on with how the industry looks right now. As I think we were speaking, offline about things slowly starting to pick up and slowly starting to phase into some level of normalcy. So for you, what has that looked like? Recently, I know in a lot of cases, for some. You're still waiting, you're still kind of waiting by the phone, or you're still waiting in terms of contacting producers or directors to see if things are picking back up, if things are being delayed further. What does that currently look like for you?
Well, I've got three projects that are supposed to go in the fall, um, but everybody they're ready to go. They got the money, and they're tentatively scheduled, but they're just holding back, to see what conditions are in those individual states. One is in New Jersey, two in California. Um, Theater's dead. I Before this, about half my time was spent on touring theater. I've been playing a science fiction author named Ray Bradbury for his family and having fun with it. But I don't think theater's coming back really until there's a vaccine. People aren't going to be comfortable being next to each other. But I think what this is going to do, and I'll be interested to see if any of the other friends in the industry agree, I think it's going to change the content of films for a while, at least on the indie level, because you're not going to want to have a group of actors together face to face. So that changes the kind of stories that we're doing, right? And
Right.
it changes the shots too. Like one of the movies I'm involved with for the fall, it's a car movie. Like the car is really the star of the movie. It's the world's fastest car. It's a badass car. So, but the director's already talking about jiggling the shots where you might not have two actors actually on set at the same time. You just do, like an over and an over. And I think you're going to see more of that. Love scenes, I don't know, man. How do you do a love scene with somebody that you just met that day and you're going to get on with them in a couple hours and you don't know their medical history at all? That's kind of rough right now.
Yeah, no, I was talking to one person about it, and they were commenting on how for it, obviously for those big budget films, it's a little different because they can blue screen and they have all these resources to do various things to kind of work around the limitations that are there. But as you're saying, with indie films, that's not the case because the resources are not as expensive as
I
they
mean,
would be.
Look, a lot of my films, I get asked to do things like lick women's faces and, shove people's head in bathtubs of blood and like really,
Right.
like my whole thing on film is close physical proximity, like right up in somebody's face or right up in somebody's ear. And that
Sure.
stuff's going to be hard to do until there's a vaccine.
Yeah. Cool, cool. Well, Bill, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. Being a guest on today's show. Can you tell folks, where they can find you?
Yeah, totally. I wish people would Google Greatland. It's Greatland, like a great land. Watch the trailer and follow Greatland on the social media links there. and look for the film to come out. You can find me online anywhere as Bill Oberst Jr. or just if you Google like creepy horror guy. Unfortunately, I come up for like anything with the word creepy in it. Usually I'm in this image results. So what are you going to do? You work with what you got, Brandon. You do what you take what God gave you and you say thank you.
And on that note, guys, again, I want to thank Bill so much for being on here. Brandon Troy, Moves and Shakers Unlimited. See you guys soon. Bye.